there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're starting book 2 of the Ethics, doing with chapter 1. So and remember that we ended last book 1 with the turn to the account of the virtues. So we're going to be now looking at, he then starts out with the question of virtue. So let's turn to it right here. Chapter 1, virtue then is twofold. Intellectual, this is theoria, or intellectual in that sense, and then moral. It's virtue is going to be twofold in the fundamental sense, and it's going to be yeah, so-called ethicae. Moral here is always ethicae. So intellectual of the mind. So and this is kind of, let me get the video site here, get the glasses out and get it here so that we get this trick out here, trick pony. It's Dionoteke. So it is intellect, something that from the of the mind, and then ethicae, ethikos, ethics. So remember, morals here, he's translating Bartlett and things always not translated morals, but it should be ethics in that sense. And the double meaning of ethics in general, which has these two things, and morals, which this deals with the question of people's character, ethical in that sense. Both the coming into being and the increasing of intellectual virtue results mostly from teaching. Hence, it requires experience and time, whereas moral virtue is the right ethical moral virtue is, or the ethical virtue, we can say ethical virtue, is, or the virtue that deals with ethics, is the result of habit, ethos. Now there's a play, ethos, ethos, and ethos. This is ethos, ethos, of habit. Habit. What is habit? Habit is the behaviors we do, right? So it is that ethical virtue that ethical virtue got its name, ethicae, by a slight alteration of the term ethos. It's taking a pun. Aristotle's kind of pointing a pun out that it's the long a. Ethicae is habit. In other words, ethicae in this understanding, which means here ethic, the double meaning of ethics. The larger ethics, the question is, the larger ethics is two ideas. There's virtues, intellectual, but I think this is the question. Is ethicae about intellectual virtue? Okay, that's the problem. Or only ethics is only about what we call those virtues of character, the virtues of human behavior. But now he says virtue itself is twofold. But ethics gets its name, he says, ethics gets its name by a slight alteration of the term habit. It is also clear, as a result, that none of the ethical virtues are present in us by nature. So the ethical virtues are not present in us by nature. Therefore, there is kind of a learning here in this, right? Since nothing that exists by nature is habituated to be other than it is. So nothing that exists by nature is habituated to be other than it is. For example, a stone, because it is born downward by nature, could not be habituated to be born upward. Not even if someone habituated it by throwing it upward 10,000 times. Fire, too, could not be born downward. Nor could anything else That is naturally one way, be habituated to another. So the idea metaphor here is things that have a natural predisposition or natural that do certain things, like rocks. Rocks cannot be made to go like this. No, it can't be habituated. You can do it many times, but it's not going to change that its nature is going here. You can't contradict its nature, in other words. Habituation cannot, in other words, most things that are determined by nature cannot, habituation cannot do it. So therefore, there is this tradition of what is this can be. In other words, at one level, it suggests that the conventional, something that is not by nature can be. This is one level, right? Neither by nature, therefore, nor contrary to nature, are the virtues present. So, therefore, it's not by nature, but nor is it, therefore, nor contrary to nature, are virtues present. They are instead present in us, who are of such a nature as to receive them, and who are completed through habit. Now, who are perfected, or telimonos, taken to be in the middle rather than the passive voice, and those who complete or perfect themselves through habit. Now, those who are perfect, in other words, completed. This is the idea of it's completed or perfected, right? This is why we talk about the polis is the complete of koinonia. It's the completion of the human beings find themselves and their things completed within the polis, right? That's the argument of naturalness of the polis in that sense. So therefore, it's not that we have, in other words, it's not human. In other words, that it's neither by nature nor contrary to nature that our virtues present. So therefore, these virtues occur. These so-called ethical virtues, these characters of this, they are present in us because we are such a nature that we receive them. Therefore, we don't. They're not in us automatically, but rather the courage, moderation, things are not simply there within us, and we possess them in that sense, and therefore, by their nature, will always be that. But rather, they are available to us. We could receive them. Okay, and who are completed. In other words, and who, I think it's a they. I think the virtues, these things, are completed through nature, or who complete or perfect themselves through habit. Right. In other words, the virtues and these things become perfected in that sense. The virtue is then made to be present in that through habit in that sense. Further, in the case of those things present in us by nature, we are first provided with the capacities associated with them, and then later on display the activities. Something that is in fact clearer in the case of sense perceptions. So, in other words, okay, stop here for a second. In other words, by nature we possess something, but it doesn't become immediate access. Sometimes we have it, but don't do it. Now, the same thing is like the question of, now this is the famous line about alcoholism, right? That we know people who study know that alcoholism and the trait of alcoholism is passed on genetically, okay? But just because you're passed on, you have the genetics of it. If you don't drink alcohol and engage in drinking behavior, you don't become alcoholic, even though you have your genetic propensity to become. Like some other thing, if you have certain propensities to do something, if you don't get any danger that triggers the phenomena to develop, then that doesn't happen. This is both negative and positive in a sense. What Aristotle is suggesting here, I think, he's giving it in a positive sense, that we have this capacity here, but it requires some action, some activity, or some doing, and that the doing triggers, it helps to allow what is present to actualize. Okay, and this is something what he says here, right? that something, in fact, has a class of sense perception. This is an example of sense perception. For it is not as a result of seeing many times or hearing many times that we come to have those sense perceptions. Rather, it is conversely because we have them that we use them, not because we use them that we have them. Okay, this is the important point. That, in other words, things of nature is that we have them and come to use them. We don't use them to get them. Okay, but the virtues we come to have by engaging in those activities first, as is the case with the techne arts as well. So therefore, he's going to suggest that virtue, arete, the questions of excellences, is that we don't have them. Remember, he says that these certain things, we have sense perception, we have it. But we don't get it we don't use it to get it. We have it and use it, okay? And it gets perfected. Here, virtues, we don't necessarily have it. We do it, we engage in things, and therefore we get it, right? In other words, we engage in the activities first. And this is similar to techne in that sense. The arts and crafts, the techne, arts, that we first have to, we don't know how to make it, we learn to make it. We learn. We engage by doing and learning, right? For the regards for those things we must learn how to do. We learn by doing them. For example, by building houses, people becomes house builders. And by playing I can't ever say this, but the kithika, the musical instrument, the kithira, they become kithira players. Music. If you play the instrument, you look by playing the musical instrument, you become the player of the instrument. Okay. So too, by doing just things, we become just. Sophosune things, moderate things, or sophosune things, so we become moderate, or sophosune. And courageous things, we become courageous. What happens in cities too bear witness to this. For by habituating citizens, lawgivers make them good. And this is by wish. And this is the wish, the desire, the wish, like the prayer in that sense, of every lawgiver. The lawgiver makes people good by habituating them to the good, right? Unto the law. In other words, you make the in other words, by habituating children, they make them good. And this is the wish of all lawgivers. For who do not do this well are in error. And it is in this respect that a good regime differs from a base regime. This is for two. The first appearance of the important term politeia, right? Here, this is okay. I'm not going to disagree. The sixfold classification found in 6.8. I think that's presented there, but I think it refers to the authoritative ruling element in a constitution. See my talks about politeia online. I talk about this key term. I have my book, The Regime and Political Science, which I talk about this. I have a couple articles on politeia. I have, the whole book. See my lectures about it in the politics, and also about on a previous thing. So I've discussed this. So, but here says what? That the lawgiver does this really habituate citizens for try to make them good, right? Makes them, and therefore, who does not do this well, are in error in essence, and that what differentiates. And in this respect, that a good regime. This is how a good regime differs from a base regime, a bad regime, a base or and good regime. Further, as a result of, an account of the same things, every virtue comes, every virtue both comes into being and is destroyed. Again, three, ruined or corrupted, pilithium, right? So the destroyed, ruined, or corrupted. It's corrupted, comes into being or is corrupted, destroyed, or ruined. It is similarly the case also with the art. In other words, by not doing it well. I mean, the virtues in this require doing, but if you don't do it right, you do it badly. If you don't engage in the proper activity. Like in other words, as you make the art, right, and you do it badly and do it, and you get so habituated always making the mistake, you don't never produce the good piece of work. You produce the bad piece of work. So you can be habituated for good or correct activity, towards virtue, or you can be habituated towards the opposite, vice or baseness, right? So in that sense, for it is the result of playing the kithara that both good and bad kithara players arise, and anagulasi with house builders and all the rest. As a result of building houses well, people will be a good house builder. But as the result of doing it badly, they will be a bad one. If this were not the case, there would be no need of a teacher. This is why you need a teacher. In other words, if because you can do, if you don't know what you're doing and you do it and you keep on doing the wrong thing and you become habituated to the bad. This is what teachers are there. Teachers are there to correct you, but the teacher needs to have the knowledge of doing the thing correctly. All right, there'd be no need of teacher, but everyone would come into being already good or bad. So therefore, this idea there'd be no. If this is not the case, that you need someone to guide you. So you need someone who knows what is right and what is wrong to help you avoid the wrong and achieve the good, achieve the correct and avoid the wrong. Right. Um, Otherwise, we would already come into already good or bad in that sense. Right. So too is the case of the virtues. By doing things in our interactions with human beings, some of us become just, others unjust. And by doing things in terrifying circumstances, and by being habituated to fear, or confidence, some of us become courageous, and others cowards. The case is similar as regards to desires and bouts of anger. For some people become sophosune and gentle, moderate and gentle, and others become licentious and irascible. Okay, this is what desire is this question of sophosune and licentious, gentle and irascible comes out of the question bouts of anger, right? Um, as the former as the result of conducting themselves in one way, and the latter of doing so in the other. Right. This is that you, if you do it in one way, you get doing it correctly, knowing dealing with both desire and anger in a way that's constructive and corrective, versus those who just submit to it and can not control it. Right. So, in a word, the characteristics come into being as a result of the activities akin to them. Hence, we must make our activities to be of a certain quality, for the characteristics correspond to the differences among the activities. So, activities and our characteristics, right, make our activities to be of a certain quality. For characteristics are corresponding with activities. It makes no small difference then whether one is habituated in this way or that way, straight from childhood, but a very great difference, or rather the whole difference. In other words, it doesn't matter if one is habituated this way or that way, straight from childhood. But in other words, it makes no small difference then whether one is habituated in this way or that way, straight from childhood, but a very great distance. So it's exactly the opposite. It's important. Habituation is the thing that makes a difference. He starts it with a very interesting thing. He says it makes us no small difference, but that's dismissed. It makes a great, very great distance, or rather the whole difference is how he ends it. Well, if you have any comments, questions, and things like this, please put the comments below. If you have any concerns or ask me to clarify anything here, I will clarify it in that sense. If you have any issues, if you like the video, like it, let's grow and share it, and share it on your social media. Share it out there with friends. Bring people, share it to a friend, and like this, and get people attached to it. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe, and encourage others to subscribe. If you didn't like it, you can always hit the thumb down button, but say why in the video. That way we can all learn of something, right? Um, if um, um, if you want to follow me on social media, my social media links are below. If you want to know about me more about me as a scholar and as a researcher, you can follow my academic social medias beneath the social media links, and you can go look at my scholarship and other things like that. And last but not least, if you want to help me to do what I do, you can do so through the links to Subscribe Star and Patreon below. Other thing is, another way you can help is by buying one of my books that are the books are listed below. You can do it by online means, Amazon, Barnes& Noble, whatever method you want, or by your local bookstore. Another way, if you want to really help me in that sense, you can buy if you're interested in Aristotle's politics, you can probably buy the notebook but through Lulu itself, and that would be the quickest way to give me some money. But that's it. I hope people will subscribe and join some more. So follow us. We'll see us next time when we return to chapter 2. Well, that's it for this. Take care and have a good day. Take care. Bye bye.